Hello everybody. Pardon the text-to-speech application. If you choose to read the text that's in green at the bottom, a bit of the text is missing at times. I prepared the following for the circle during our very long flight. We've been quite busy the last few days, so we've missed almost everything regarding this circle, but we'll get caught up soon. Thanks for watching. We will touch on a few different topics, but first, let's start with the fake informant account. The fake informant account. The owner of that account continues to carry on saying, "It's our fault that a lady in the circle was traumatized because we told her about the plan to destroy her family. So this needs to be addressed." The lady in the circle who was terrorized by the owner of the fake informant account will be referred to as the victim. The owner of the fake informant account will sometimes be referred to as Frosty if that is who we thought the owner of the account was at the time. Or Despicable Me because the owner of the fake informant account was in fact Despicable Me. The DM exchanges between the fake informant account and Dottie went on from the 18th to the 28th of June. But we haven't watched Despicable Me's video of our DM thread to see if all the DM exchanges were included. After ending the chat on the fake informant account with Despicable Me, we continued our chat with her on her real account. When we began our chat on her real account, I asked her, "Wouldn't this have been better than using the fake account to cause trauma?" And Despicable Me replied, "Yes, this would have been better." But instead, she chose to torment a family in the circle and myself. The inhumane woman is a disgrace to human beings everywhere. We understand that my DM replies to the fake informant account seemed a bit strange, but that's because I didn't know what I was dealing with at first. And by the time Despicable Me admitted it was her, I was dealing with my own emotional trauma and also I was tremendously excited to have the opportunity to be able to at least try and get through to Despicable Me because Dottie came to help her. And to hopefully open the eyes of the people who like us have heavily supported the cause from the start. When the fake informant account reached out to us, we highly suspected foul play, but we thought there was a chance the informant was real because many people are terrified of Despicable Me and rightfully so. A very lot of us know that when you speak up against Despicable Me you're sacrificing yourself because she is vengeful. There came a point when we were almost certain the informant was in fact real because Despicable Me is a master manipulator. And she went to great lengths to make it seem she was someone who was extremely worried about a lady in the circle's family. Despicable Me even went as far as to tell us the police may need to be involved. In the beginning we thought it was Frosty, because the day before we'd received a DM warning us the fake informant account was Frosty, so I replied in a way hoping to cause Frosty to reply in a way that would prove it was her, but that soon changed to us believing it was a real informant. There were days the fake informant account disappeared after giving us distressing information on Despicable Me's plan for destruction of someone's family in the circle. At that time we thought there was a good chance the account was a real informant and that person was just scared to give us the recorded call with the plan for destruction. Despicable Me had information on the victim's family member's place of work, so the concern was real. She has made public promises to contact other people's work amongst other promises very recently I might add, and she had already made it clear she was certain the lady was Dottie. So there was reason to be highly concerned. Just to add to that, Despicable Me choosing that particular lady as her victim of choice was well thought out. At the time there were at least 4 other ladies she was certain were all working together as Dottie, but she chose the easiest target. The lady who she knew was the most incredibly sensitive, the lady who she knew would be the least likely to go public. The lady who she knew was the quietest of all the accused, and the lady that she couldn't think of anything that the lady had done to her. I know because I asked her repeatedly, "What has this lady done to you?" But instead of telling me what the lady had done to her, all she could tell me was on about what she said the other ladies had done to her. Despicable Me is an emotional manipulator, and as unfortunate as it is for her victims, she's an evil mastermind. She is absolutely out of control, and she's too much power in the circle to be ignored. Right, let's get back to the fake informant account. The informant told us they were very concerned that sharing the recorded call with us, proof of Despicable Me's plan to destroy the victim's family, sharing that may out them, and like I've mentioned, we knew there were people in the circle terribly afraid of becoming Despicable Me's next target, and a very lot of you know that's for true. Deciding how to handle the information the informant gave us was excruciatingly painful. Worrying on about the victim whose family may be in danger, we didn't know what to do. Tell her and worry her unnecessarily, or keep it from her and risk the plan for destruction on her family was real, but as many of you know, Despicable Me is dangerous. We felt we had to tell the victim. But days passed while we waited for the informant to return. I can't go into a lot of detail because that would take hours, but the victim was absolutely miserable with worry. She was incredibly distraught. Her lively, upbeat, charming personality changed drastically to someone seeming about to lose it. The days waiting for the informant to return caused her extreme worry, to say the least. She was being traumatized, and it was absolutely heartbreaking because she was consumed with worry. She had no peace. Goddamn you, Despicable Me, what gives you the right to steal her peace? She didn't really do anything to you worth mentioning, because, God knows if she had, you wouldn't have shut the fuck up about it in our DMs. You are an absolute nightmare. We later found out the fake informant account was 100% Despicable Me, so I spent 3 days trying as hard as I could to help Despicable Me come to terms with the fact that she's quite sick. There was a very brief time when Despicable Me seemed to understand what she'd done was bloody. Well, Despicable, she even seemed to be desperate to comfort the victim. But the victim refused to speak to her, and rightfully so. Despicable Me also wanted to speak to 2 other ladies, but they refused to speak to her too, and that caused Despicable Me to turn from what seemed to be compassion to hate. That led to Despicable Me's paranoia and rage taking over, because, when Despicable Me doesn't feel like she is in control, her inner demon comes out. After Despicable Me realized she wouldn't be able to control her victim, she threatened to go live, after the victim and 2 others refused to speak with her. Despicable Me's seemingly extreme sincere concern for tormenting her victim quickly changed to a need for vengeance, because Despicable Me said the victim would publicly turn it against her. But that was a lie, because she knew her victim of choice wouldn't go public. She was actually paranoid one of the other ladies would go public, and that's why she filled with paranoia and rage when those ladies refused to speak with her. But if Despicable Me's victim or the 2 other ladies had have went public, they would have had every right to, because telling the truth on Despicable Me's terror is what was needed. Despicable Me cruelly tormented the lady, and then, she raced to turn the torture she gave to the lady into the lady being the bad guy. This is why we're here as Dottie. The woman has too much power to get away with her absolute evil doings. Without the help of those who support her, she wouldn't be able to get away with all that evil. There are a very lot of people in the circle who can't speak up, but also can't leave the circle. Some of those people are just too attached, or too lonely, or care a very lot about their friends who aren't able to leave the circle. On the cruelest real-time video of Despicable Me's history, she said if someone was suicidal because of dealings with the circle, they'd turn off their internet. That was an absolutely cruel and unthinkable thing to say. At worst, people commit suicide on real-time video, and at best, when they are low, they're not strong enough to just turn off their internet. Especially not after feeling you're a part of something very special, something you think is a very lot fulfilling, and that causes you to feel a very strong connection. But then the powerful beast publicly stones you, casts you out, shames you, humiliates you, and that leaves you feeling the most lonely person. You feel you've lost your happiness. You feel you've not only lost your close friends, but your family, too. You may even feel you've lost your will to live. Right, Despicable Me is a horror. She makes people feel like family, and when she's done with them, she does her best to make certain everybody else is too. She casts them out while saving all the information she's collected on them while they were part of the family, for later use. She is the only one in the circle with that kind of power, and that is exactly why we so desperately wanted to help her, because she is running a goddamn cult. Helping her may stop someone else from ending their life. Despicable Me's victim during the fake informant account was far too traumatized from the extreme stress and constant worry she'd suffered, and also frightened that, by speaking up, that would cause her to suffer more. She was emotionally traumatized. I've never seen that extreme of a change in anybody's personality in my lifetime. Her victim had spent days waiting for resolution and living that was almost too much for her. I tried my hardest to explain to Despicable Me that her terror was real, but she wouldn't stop carrying on about other people in the circle she was on, about how vile she thought they'd been to her. But I wasn't even reading what Despicable Me was telling me about the others, and I told her that many times. I continued to tell her, let's please just focus on your victim, but she is the most selfish person I've ever encountered in my life. She continued to ask why I was only interested in the victim that Despicable Me was on, about a plan to destroy the victim's family. Despicable Me was completely covered in paranoia, and she either couldn't or wouldn't see the damage she'd done, and to think she'd even ask where was her Dottie when I was there for her the entire time. I was quite pleased when I was certain the fake informant account was Despicable Me. I thought, here is our chance to help her, but it was a fail. What she messaged us on both the fake account and then on her real account proves that the woman has no scruples. The reason she went on to do the cruel and unthinkable real-time video at the time she did was because she was absolutely raging that someone found out that she'd told us something that she said that person had said about the victim. Despicable Me shared our DMs with that person, but she didn't show that person what she had said that person had said about the victim. I told the victim only because, after chatting with her as Dottie, it was obvious she was a lovely person who cares deeply about her friends, and honestly, I was worried that that person may not be a good friend for her. Any of us with eyes and ears should know it doesn't take a very lot to cause Despicable Me to explode with the most angry rage. During the time I was with Despicable Me on the fake informant account, it appeared to everybody she'd calmed down. Almost 2 weeks later, after she'd finally decided to contact us on her real account, she said, I thought this might be easier. Obviously. On top of not being tortuous. She even had the nerve to say, hasn't it been quiet lately? Yes, ma'am, Despicable Me, it was a bit quiet in the public circle because you were quite busy, raining hell in private. Yes, during those 2 weeks it appeared she was somewhat behaving herself, but her behind-the-scenes terror was worse than her public stonings. By the way, that has us thinking on about the other times she'd seemed to calm herself for a couple of weeks, if she was actually just too busy, raining hell behind the scenes. I'm not comfortable going into a lot of detail on what happened, but something happened that has changed me forever during the almost 2 weeks of dealing with her behind-the-scenes terror. I had night terrors after dealing with her victim's emotional trauma. We've said many times that this circle isn't a big part of our life, but during the time with the fake informant account, not only did the circle consume my life, it consumed my dreams. Despicable Me 100% traumatized her victim of choice, and by feeling her victim's trauma, I was emotionally traumatized. My DMs with her victim 100% prove that she was terrorized by Despicable Me, and that is criminal. Again, I'm not comfortable going into too much detail, but the days leading up to what we thought was the return of the informant. The extreme emotional torture endured by her victim was all too obvious. After the cruelest real-time video Despicable Me had ever put on, we realized that Despicable Me is just as full of evil as Frosty. Despicable Me told us that trying to catch out her victim in that way was a normal thing to do, and her followers would understand. Only a psychopath could believe it's normal to terrorize people just to try and catch them out, but she was correct. This circle is so terribly poisonous that Despicable Me was right. The woman is an absolute abomination, and what the victim endured at the hands of everybody else who assisted in that cruel and unthinkable real-time video was absolutely disgusting. The night terrors I had from dealing with Despicable Me's trauma on her victim was already a very lot to emotionally deal with. But after realizing nobody wanted to speak up against that unthinkable mocking of suicide real-time video, and instead they would carry on to publicly support it. Honestly, I'm not sure how I was able to emotionally deal with that. Despicable Me was assisted by the people who are supposed to have a code of ethics. The cause they support is on about keeping children safe online, but to them, and Despicable Me, and many others, it was obvious they chose to support evil doings over being decent human beings. What took place on that real-time video was 100% evil doings, and absolutely unthinkable. How any of you could support Despicable Me mocking her most recent victim's cries is unbelievable. One of my night terrors was a dream I had that her victim ended her life after watching her public stoning. How is it possible that none of you understood how cruel and unthinkable it is to laugh at someone's emotional pain? We could understand if it was just Despicable Me and Frosty participating in that cruel and unthinkable real-time video. That is usual behavior for both of them. Just think for a moment about the cruel and disturbing bloodbath Sims video created by Despicable Me. I wonder how many of those ladies had nightmares from that. Who in their right mind creates a bloodbath video on people they've fallen out with? What about the disturbing and sickening XXX Sims pornos she created on someone old enough to be her mum? She just cackled and cackled as she spoke about sharing the sicko porn video. That woman shows obvious signs of being a psychopath, yet the group in the circle who claim to be here to protect children online also claim that she has grown as a person. And claim her being unforgivable is all in the past. Having a group that is supposed to have a code of ethics support her evil doings is actually doing more evil than Despicable Me, but even that group hasn't the power that Despicable Me has. And that's why it's terribly important to that group to keep Despicable Me happy, otherwise she'll flip-flop again, turning her loyal crowd against them once again. And that would mean she'd be right back to publicly stoning them again. Alright, there's just a very lot to speak on, but let's get back to her victim of choice on the fake informant account. Her victim had just endured days of being terrorized behind the scenes by Despicable Me. So it was already bloody, unbelievable that her crying was disgustingly mocked, but the other two ladies who were mocked about fake suicide attempts, wrist cutting, overdosing on pills, head injuries, etc. What in God's name is wrong with the lot of you? We know Despicable Me and Frosty have no scruples, but haven't any of you got any scruples? Many of you behaved like a pack of hungry wolves, joining in on the extremely obvious public stonings of those ladies and even continuing on with the public stonings after that unthinkable real-time video. Of course, those two ladies may have felt pulled to speak up about that cruel and unthinkable real-time video, but many of you were right there to stomp them even lower. The group who sent the private messages of those two ladies to the woman they know is unforgivable, the woman they know has in no way grown as a person like they've said she has. The woman who they know hasn't stopped her cruel and usual public stonings, and her even crueler behind-the-scenes evil, should absolutely be sickened by what they've done. How could they trust Despicable Me with those ladies' private DMs? How could the people we've supported for so long assist that woman in that most disgustingly cruel and unthinkable real-time video? But maybe a better question is why? Yes, that is the question, but we know the answer to that question. The answer to that question is the reason we're also here as Dottie. They also started tweeting complete and total lies on us right after Despicable Me temporarily closed her Twitter account, and that was done after they blocked us. They blocked us directly after the cruel and unthinkable real-time video, because they knew that assisting Despicable Me in evil would catch the attention of Dottie. They also lied to a child in an attempt to support Despicable Me. They told the child not to worry about Despicable Me because honestly it's all in the past. Why in God's name would they lie to a child when they are supposed to be here to protect children? Why? 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 We know why. We've 100% proof they told multiple lies on us and lied to that child. The only reason they've done that is because of those damn politics they DM'd us on about. They also continued on with the cruel talk and tweets on about the ladies who were publicly stoned on Despicable Me's cruel and unthinkable real-time video about suicide. The most disgustingly cruel real-time video of Despicable Me's history. If that group who claims to be here to protect children online have any integrity at all, they will do the following. 1. Publicly apologize to the two ladies for handing over their private messages to a woman they know has no scruples and know would use those private messages to publicly stone them. 2. Publicly apologize for assisting in the cruelest real-time video of Despicable Me's history. 3. Publicly apologize for making it their mission to carry on with support of that cruel and unthinkable real-time video for days following it. 4. Publicly apologize for the lies they told on Dottie in an attempt to destroy Dottie during their mission to carry on with support of that cruel and unthinkable real-time video. 5. Publicly apologize to the child they felt forced to lie to because of politics in the circle. 6. Publicly explain what those politics are that they private messaged Dottie about, the same politics that the six-legged winged insect won't shut the fuck up about. We know politics, but what they're calling politics is goddamn evil doings. If you have to participate in torturing people, whose state of mind is obviously very troubled, if you have to lie about people to try and destroy their credibility, if you have to lie to children, etc., then isn't it possible those politics you're on about are completely evil? We also understand that there are many others in the circle who are scared to speak up about Despicable Me. You don't want to be cast out and become her next victim, but for those of us who have heavily supported the cause and are still supporting her, assisting her, even using her because we know it's a lot nicer having her on our side, that is vile evil doings. How have any of you forgiven the trauma caused to you by that woman? You can't say it's in the past because it's a never-ending circle with her. You can't move on from what never changes. Despicable Me hasn't taken a break from her evil doings more than a couple of weeks at a time since she's been in this circle, and anybody with common sense knows that. We can't get over the fact that the group of people who are supposed to be on about protecting children online would publicly lie to a child about an obvious psychopath just because of politics. And for them to say that Despicable Me has grown as a person? What the fuck? The woman is more paranoid and more unforgivable than ever. She has never slowed down her terror since coming into the circle, and that group knows that. Just in the past few months, Despicable Me has held real-time video public stonings for many innocent people, and I'm not just on about the people she's accused of being dotty. 3 of the people she cruelly, publicly stoned had left the circle completely, and one of them she absolutely terrorized and made guilty of being the owner of another incognito channel. And right after that, she apologized again. Apologizing is wonderful, but not when you repeat the same cruel and usual behavior over and over with no end in sight. Her apologies are never sincere, and that's because she has no scruples. Despicable Me also threatened, harassed, and intimidated someone using a video to Dottie. That video was 100% Despicable Me demanding that that person submits to her. The woman is a cruel and usual tyrant. We realize that nobody wants to be her target, and for good reason. We were her target for almost 2 weeks, via her fake informant account, and that caused me a very lot of emotional distress and even night terrors. There comes a point when it's time for everybody to stand up against her evil, because she is using her channel to rule hell in this circle, and she has been doing that for far too long. Her past and current terror is being completely overlooked because many, many people know she won't think twice about using her channel as a weapon against you. Despicable Me supports only one cause, and that one cause is herself. She will flip-flop again and again because her only cause is herself. Whatever she feels benefits her is what she supports, because Despicable Me's agenda is Despicable Me. The group who sent those 2 ladies private messages to Despicable Me, it's quite obvious what they meant when they told us there's a lot more politics going on than we understand. First of all, let's make this clear. We've been on the same side as them from day one, and those politics are understood quite well by us. Why do you think we came here as Dottie? What's going on with the politics is evil. We're here as Dottie because of those politics. We were here to help what we thought was a mentally sick woman who those of us heavily supporting the cause have used for evil. We thought we could help her with an intervention, but we failed. We knew there was no help for Frosty, even if she was used the same as Despicable Me, but Frosty is all used up. She's been drained, and all that's left is maggots. However, Despicable Me is charismatic, and she has talent. People are drawn to her. It's impossible to drain her, so we needed her on our side. We needed her to speak against that family because the other option was being her targets again, and having her return to supporting that family once again. Those politics are causing great harm to many people. When we began our project in October of last year, on about cults, soon after we opened our eyes to what those politics were. And we felt bloody horrible for using a sick woman, and the rest of you who heavily support the cause need to open your eyes too. We've had to give up on Despicable Me because helping her turned out to be a pipe dream. She seems far too full of maggots, just like Frosty. We now feel there is a very lot of proof of her being a psychopath. That's a shame, because the cult expert and psychology expert who studied the circle believed her personality disorder could be helped with intense therapy and medications. But if they were mistaken like we now believe they were, she has the most severe form of antisocial personality disorder, making her a psychopath, and that can't be helped. Despicable Me has antisocial personality disorder, there is no doubt about it. People with antisocial personality disorder are unlikely to seek help. However, they may seek help because of other symptoms, such as depression, anxiety, or angry outbursts. A key factor in diagnosis is how the affected person relates to others. People with antisocial personality disorder consistently shows no regard for right and wrong, and ignores the rights and feelings of others. Those who suffer from antisocial personality disorder manipulate others for personal gain, often using charm or wit, and repeatedly violate the rights of others through intimidation and dishonesty. People with antisocial personality disorder will show hostility, significant irritability, agitation, aggression, and show lack of empathy for others and lack of remorse about harming others. People with antisocial personality disorder have poor or even abusive relationships and fail to learn from the consequences of their behavior. They engage in behaviors that typically harm others for the benefit of themselves. People who have been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder are sometimes called sociopaths. They engage in behaviors that typically harm others for the benefit of themselves and have little regard for another person's emotions, rights, or experiences. They lack remorse for their actions, and they act in ways that show no regard for others, including lying, cheating, and manipulating. Some people with this condition aren't very sly about their conduct. Others are quite deceptive. With permission, family and friends may be able to provide helpful information. The symptoms of her antisocial personality disorder can be helped if the two professionals who studied the circle were correct in that she doesn't have the most severe form of antisocial personality disorder, but her study ended months ago, and that was before we had personal experience with her evil behind-the-scenes work. She's also gotten a very lot worse since the study was completed, so it's become quite obvious that the less control she has, the more her evil shows. It's unfortunate, but she is likely a psychopath and can't be helped, not even with an intervention. Alright, that brings us to something called empathy, and a very lot of you are somehow able to throw empathy out the door when her victims don't support your agenda. How many times have we heard after arriving as Dottie? 1. You weren't here for us when we were her targets. 2. Her current victims didn't care about us when we were her victims. How about you show some goddamn compassion, instead of replying to us like you're a lot of 12-year-old spoiled brats? To the group we've supported since you showed up, you've said Dottie was a year too late. If we're a year too late, what does that say about you? It says you're a year and 3 months too late. Don't you think it's about time your group opens your eyes? Everybody supporting the cause needs to open their eyes on about that abomination this very moment. Stop supporting her in raining hell just because of those politics. Those of you carrying on about 2 ladies in the circle, saying they've used suicide as a weapon, you don't know what they are going through. The only weapon anybody heavily supporting the cause is really concerned about is the weapon known as Despicable Me. Seeing the people we have supported for a very long time carrying on with the disgusting talk on about those ladies and suicide is vile. All of you know that Despicable Me is a weapon, and all of you know you don't want that weapon aimed at you. Right, I've almost forgotten to mention that just days after Despicable Me used the victim's family to cause terror, she participated in a real-time video chat on a Circle member's channel and was commenting about how the Circle's family members should be off limits. But just a day before that, she made an open threat to all Circle members that their families are fair game, and just days before that she was 100% using the family of a lady in the Circle to terrorize the lady. The fact that Despicable Me and the many, many people who support her didn't see how evil it was to torture someone with plans to destroy their family is absolutely evil doings. I tried my hardest to find out from Despicable Me why she thought it was normal to put the victim and myself through all that torture, but all Despicable Me would reply was on about what she said other people had done to her, yet she wondered why I only wanted to focus on the victim who she had come to us with a plan to destroy the victim's family. We were only supposed to be on about the bigger picture. What anybody did to anybody else and vice versa didn't matter, but Despicable Me and many others continue to make it about what people are accused of doing. Despicable Me's real-time videos along with other evidence that isn't related to Despicable Me is all we needed for the part this circle plays in our project. Even our chat with the fake informant account explains the bigger picture. If anybody wants access to the full DM chat, please contact us because people in this circle prove again and again to be dishonest when sharing our DM chat threads. By removing parts of the chats they don't want shared. The six-legged winged insect, who highly supports the cause, did the exact same as Despicable Me by posting our DM chats after removing the parts of the chat she wanted to be kept private. And then used a wee portion of our DMs to create a total lie on us. The same lie that the group who is supposed to be here to protect children online is tweeting about us, amongst other lies. We also knew that Despicable Me shared our DM chats with others after removing the parts she didn't want seen. But we don't know if any DMs are missing from the video she shared that's supposed to be our entire thread, because like I've said, we haven't had the time to watch the video. But considering she left out DMs when sharing with certain people, and considering she's highly known to be deceitful, it's quite possible DMs were removed. Also, our screen recording of the chat is slowed down. We hope everybody will view our Twitter. We like all tweets by us to make it easier for everybody to view each tweet thread we're a part of. So when coming to our Twitter you can select on our liked tweets to be certain you don't miss any of our tweets. Please pay close attention to the fact that other than bringing attention to the woman who has used her channel for cruel and usual public stonings for far too long, we've only reacted to the lies on us, and when we've had the time we've reacted to the almost constant hateful tweets directed at us. We've attempted to use humor when reacting to the McNasties, those who enjoy nothing more than antagonizing us, because that's what helps us deal with all the hate when we see it. The only reason we've used past videos on about Despicable Me and Frosty is to show what hypocrites many of you are. Those past videos absolutely prove our point. Apologies for all of our incognito behavior. We've had to do everything we've done as Dottie in disguise. Everything. Right, moving on to our lovely project. It's unfortunate, but we were forced to make changes to the plans we've had since the end of April for sharing our project with the Circle. The reason for that is absolutely heart-rending. We realized when Despicable Me put on the cruelest real-time video of her history with the help of the people who are meant to have a code of ethics. And then to have had nobody speak up against that cruel and unthinkable real-time video, other than the victims. That opened our eyes to the fact that those we were trying to reach with Dottie, they are only interested in what supports their agenda, even when it comes to matters of suicide. The people who support the cause aren't capable of showing empathy on matters that conflict with their agenda, even if those matters include suicide, but do not worry. This circle is being used as a teaching tool to many people, and will be used both now and in the future. We're terribly pleased about that, but also, we're deeply saddened by the recent chain of events it took to open our eyes a second time. We realize we continue to repeat ourselves, but the part of our project on about this circle was never about what anybody did to anybody else or vice versa. Other than factual evidence that hadn't anything to do with Despicable Me, our lovely project on about past infamous cults and the possibility of dangerous cults forming on social media is complete. We may have realized it's unlikely we can make a difference with many of you in this circle, but rest assured, this circle will go down in history as proof of the following. The world is not full of evil because of those who do wrong. It is full of evil because of those who do nothing. But it gets worse. The world is full of evil because the people who know better, especially the people who should be operating under a code of ethics, are assisting in the evil. We explained in the beginning of Dottie that our project wasn't taking the piss on anybody, and we explained that our project is quite lovely. We also explained our project is based on my wonderful mum's childhood, and a few of you most nasty people, the six-legged winged insect one being the absolute most nastiest, have used my wonderful mum in nasty ways to try to hurt me, but the most nastiest ones live on Twitter, so they've nothing better to do than use my wonderful mum, who was physically and mentally tortured as a child, a survivor, just to cruelly poke a person who wanted nothing more than to make this world a better place. And to think that some of you wonder why we're delaying the release of our lovely project with the Circle. To answer your question, we've made that choice for the victims and survivors in our documentary because we have something a very lot of you don't have, and that's called empathy. To be honest, if our project did not expose something so terribly unthinkable, it's almost unbelievable regarding this circle, we'd never purposely share our project with you. Because your politics are evil. You would just have to wait until the film-length version of our project made its rounds enough to find its way back to you. Our original plan was to release the 6-part series version of our documentary as real-time videos. Those real-time videos would have been spread out over a bit of time, up until the release of the film-length version of our documentary. However, too many of you put on a Lady Tremaine costume quite well. It's bloody obvious your goal is to punish and abuse people psychologically, motivated by your agenda. When it comes to matters as serious as suicide, your agenda should be put on hold. But politics doesn't allow for that, so you'll bloody well have to wait until this toxic circle's victims, and many other victims of cults and the survivors have had their day. We were naive in our belief that we could reach some of you, that we have supported the cause with from the start. Like we've said, when we came as Dottie, it was our goal to help Despicable Me, and to get through to some of you, who supported the cause alongside of us. At first, it seemed we were making progress, but like the 6-legged winged insect basically admitted, publicly, I might add. What she shared with us about her care and concern for Despicable Me's reigning hell was just politics. There was never a real concern for anybody's emotional and mental health. Remember, we've been in this circle since before it was a circle, and when you realize who we are, directly after you've burst out with "shut the front door," maybe that's when you'll understand that even with the politics, it's sometimes necessary to put that aside and show some goddamn compassion. If we can do it, then you can too. Amen.